So for our next recipe, we're going to be talking about scones. Scones are pretty popular in the baking industry, especially if you're thinking about a little tea shop or whatever. And there's so many varieties of things you can do with this. Way more than I think the biscuit world. Biscuits, you have sweet, you have savory, you have a couple of maybe herbs, maybe some cheddar cheese. You can add more liquid and do scoop biscuits versus, portion biscuits and laid out and cut. But with scones, you have a lot of opportunity. Now over across the pond in England, scones are typically a little harder, a little drier. I tend to bake mine a little under so that they don't have to be dipped, and the shelf life can go a little bit longer if you need to. But it's gonna basically start out just like the biscuit method. But in this case, I'm gonna show you guys how to use the mixer. You do not have to use the mixer at home. By all means, you can do it by hand just like we do the normal biscuits. But I'm gonna take all my dry ingredients. This is the sugar, salt, baking powder. There's no soda in this recipe, and I'll explain why here in a minute. I'm gonna put my cold butter in there, and we're gonna go ahead and put that mixer on and let it go ahead and do its thing. And while we're doing that, we're gonna talk a little bit about the ingredients. So with a scone, I'm using heavy cream. Now, because I'm not using buttermilk, that means we're not putting in any baking soda. So there's no baking soda in this to counteract the buttermilk. So in this case, heavy cream. You could use half and half. I've seen folks even use milk. However, they put more butter into the recipe itself. There's also a hybrid item called a skookie. Now, cookies were started because people were actually over mixing their fat into their dry ingredients. So you would end up with something that acted like a cookie. So a scone cookie, you ended up with what was called a skookie. So there's a lot of opportunities here for some different stuff to have fun with it. Chocolate chips, orange, zest, dry ingredients like craisins, white chocolate chips with macadamia nuts. Anything that you would put in a cookie, you could put into a scone. Now there's also savory scones. I've seen folks add a couple extra pinches of salt, throw in a little bit of dried basil, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and have that as an actual savory scone. And those are usually served around tea time. So in this case today, we're gonna do a chocolate chip. I like a chocolate chip scone. And what's unique about a scone is how it's shaped itself. So we've got, turn that up just a little bit, let it go just for another second. You don't have to worry too much about it like the biscuit where we were worried about the shearing, because it is a dense, hard item that's typically dipped and, like I said, served at tea time, so there's not going to be that big of an issue there. But you do want to make sure that it's at least cornmeal consistency like we did with our streusel. You can also put streusel on top of a scone, which is kind of a unique texture. But you can always try stuff out. All right, so it looks like we're almost there. Good, and that was just the speed of the mixer doing it for us as opposed to doing it by hand. I'm gonna transfer this into this bowl. And as you can see, it's got that nice cornmeal-like consistency for us. Okay, check and see if there's any big pieces. One or two there. Always sneaking around. I'm gonna make sure those are gone. And then just like we did the biscuits, we're gonna go ahead and put our cream in. So I'm gonna make a well in the middle. I'm gonna pour all of our cream in. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in our chocolate chips. Then I can take my fork and just bring the ingredients together. I'm not too worried about folding. I really want this to kind of come together in a ball so that we have all of our ingredients into the recipe. You'll notice it's a little firmer. There's a lot of fat in here. Okay, and we've added all that sugar too. So we're now going to take our Silpat mat. We're going to put a little flour out. We're just going to reach in and grab. Initial dough. You'll see it just comes out just like so. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to make a big flat disc. Okay. With that, I'm then going to come in and cut 6 wedges. And these are ready to go into a pan and then go into the oven. Now, here's something very cool about this. You can actually freeze these portions just like this and the biscuits raw in the freezer. You can then pull those out at a moment's notice, throw them into a go straight from the freezer, which makes it even quicker, right? So if you come in the morning at 4 a.m., time to make the biscuits or the donuts, you can actually come in once a week and make a whole bunch of these and shave about 30 to 40 minutes time off of your prep list. All right, so we'll go ahead and get these in the oven and we'll move forward. So we're here at the oven, and once again, we have our scones. We have a high temp oven, super high heat. We can go ahead and put these into the oven. We can sprinkle this with sugar if you wanted to. In this case, we're gonna leave it straight. And let's take a look and see what happens to these when they come out of the oven. So our 17 minutes are up with our scones. You'll see these are a little different than our biscuits. Same method, biscuit method itself. You got that nice jump here on the sides. But as far as the texture itself, it's a little more, notice it didn't split. I didn't have an area where I can split the dough. I mean, I can kind of, but even as I go to split it, it crumbles. Now there's a lot of sugar in here. So that sugar adds a tenderizer and makes the batter itself or the dough super soft and tender. And of course it extends the shelf life too. Sugar does a lot of things for us. Rather than just taste, it tenderizes and it extends shelf life. It's also a moisture. It loves to suck the moisture in from other ingredients to keep that nice, moist, tender crust. So that's it for scones.